everyone, welcome to my channel. Allow us to ask you an inquiry. What number photographs of the Earth have you seen? By photographs of the Earth, we aren't discussing photographs taken from the upper environment or the global space station. We mean photographs taken from space or some other planet. For a great many people, the appropriate response would be a couple. One of those photographs will most likely be the renowned Blue Marble, which was shot by Apollo 17 space explorers in 1972. Notwithstanding, the mainstream Blue Marble is only one of only a few amazing photographs of the Earth out there. We have 10 more here, most of which you've never seen. 10. Farthest photograph of Earth from space. What's the farthest photograph ever taken Earth? That is the pale blue dot, which was shot by NASA's Voyager 1 space test on the 14th of February 1990. The photograph shows the Earth as an exceptionally little dab in the upper portion of a beam of daylight that runs from the top to the lower part of the photograph. Explorer 1 was 3.7 billion miles from Earth at the time it shot that photograph. That is past the circle of each planet in our nearby planetary group including Pluto. To place that into point of view, the photograph showed up Earth on the 1st of May 1990, more than 2 months after it was shot. The pale blue dot is one of 60 photos Voyager 1 shot around a similar time. The test likewise took photographs of Venus, Jupiter, Uranus and Neptune. It didn't snap a picture of Mercury on the grounds that the light radiated by the planet was overpowered by the more brilliant light from the Sun. Mars was impeded by daylight and Pluto was excessively little, dull and far off to be caught. Discussing Voyager 1, the space test is presently in a zone called interstellar space. That is where our Sun's gravitational force is practically non-existent. In one sentence, Voyager 1 is not, at this point in our close planetary system. We shouldn't expect any more photographs from it either since it killed its cameras just in the wake of taking those photos. 9. Photograph of the Earth from Saturn. On the 19th of July 2019, NASA's Cassini space test shot a stunning photograph of Earth from Saturn. The photograph shows part of Saturn and its rings very close, with the Earth showing up as a little spot somewhere far off. The Moon is close to the Earth, however, is scarcely obvious. NASA named the photograph, "The Day the Earth Smiled." The Day the Earth Smiled is viewed as a standout amongst other photographs of Earth. It turned out amazing in light of the fact that Saturn hindered the Sun, which would have projected shadows on Cassini's field of view and pulverized what would have been an ideal shot. In spite of its ubiquity, this photograph is only one of the numerous photographs Cassini shot from Saturn. In 2006, Cassini caught a photograph of the Earth with parts of Saturn's rings in a closer view. That photograph is known as the Blue Orb. It's cool excessively, however not as cool as this one. Cassini additionally snapped another picture of the Earth and Moon on July 19, 2013. The Moon is noticeable this time, yet Saturn's rings are not one. 8. Photograph of the Earth ascending from the Moon. On Christmas Eve 1968, the three-man group of Apollo 8 turned into the main people to make a trip to the Moon. They didn't arrive on the Moon yet, just circled round it prior to getting back to Earth. Nonetheless, their flight would have an enduring impact, especially on the establishing of natural activism. Environmentalism wasn't actually a thing until Apollo 8 crew member, astronaut William Anders shot a shaded photo of the Earth ascending from the Moon. The upper portion of the Earth was splendid blue while the lower half was totally dark, as though it were non-existent. The dry, sun-baked surface of the Moon is noticeable in the forefront. That photograph was named Earthrise despite the fact that it isn't the primary photograph of the Earth ascending from the Moon. That honor has a place with a comparable photograph shot 2 years sooner. The picture taker was certainly not a human. However, the Lunar Orbiter 1, a space test NASA sent to examine the Moon. The 1966 Earthrise photograph seems as though Anders' Earthrise, aside from that it was grainy and shot clearly. Little miracle it didn't have a similar impact as Anders' more clear and shaded photograph. On the 13th of November 2008, NASA delivered a high-goal photograph it made from the 1966 Earthrise. The refreshed photograph looks better despite the fact that it actually needs tone. 7. Photograph of a sickle-like Earth. We as a whole understand what comets resemble when seen from Earth. Presently, we should turn that situation around a touch. What does the Earth resemble when seen from a comet? We don't actually have a response to that yet. We have a thought. The Earth may resemble a bow. The excellent photograph you see up there was shot by the European Space Agency's ESA Rosetta space test in 2009. Is anything but an altered photograph of the Moon or some Earth-like planet. It's the Earth. The whole planet is totally passed out. Put something aside for the South Pole, which holds Earth's unmistakable blue tone. Rosetta was preparing to endeavor an arrival on Comet 67P, Churyumov-Gerasimenko at the time it snapped the picture. Be that as it may, it originally expected to make 3 flybys past Earth to create enough speed to block the comet. It snapped the picture during its 3rd flyby. 6. Photograph of planets Earth and Venus from Mars. It's only 1 out of every odd time we will see a photograph of Earth from Mars. Because of the persistence of the Mars Curiosity Wanderer, which is as yet kicking 6 years past its arranged 2-year life expectancy, we understand what the Earth resembles from the outside of Mars. In mid-2020, Curiosity pointed its camera at the Martian sky and shot 2 photographs, one of Earth and the other of Venus. Its administrators here on Earth combined both photographs to make a solitary photograph of planets Earth and Venus. That photograph isn't point by point since the 2 planets show up as clearly splendid dabs against the night sky. Discussing splendor, would you be able to think about why Earth and Venus were brilliant despite the fact that the stars are practically powerful? This is on the grounds that Mars' environment was dusty at the time the photograph was shot. The residue particles noticeable all around mirrored the light from the sun, making the sky become unmistakably brilliant. The outcome is that just the closest and most splendid things show up brilliant. 5. Photograph of the Earth and Moon from Mercury. On the 19th of July 2013, NASA's Messenger space test shot a photograph of the Earth and Moon from Mercury. As you can find in the photograph, the Earth and Moon are so brilliant it's practically difficult to reveal to them separated. This has a ton to do with the mission of the space test. NASA sent Messenger to Mercury to discover little satellites that might be circling the planet. Considering the little size of the articles it was looking for, the test needs to point its cameras at the objective territory for quite a while prior to snapping a picture. Picture takers call this overexposure, and the thought is to permit the cameras catch however much light as could be expected from an article. That is the lone way the cameras can distinguish little tricky articles that would have stayed inconspicuous. The Earth and the Moon would have been no bigger than a pixel if the test had shot the photograph just in the wake of pointing its camera. 4. First photograph of the Earth. The main photograph of the Earth was shot on the 24th of October 1946, and you wouldn't really accept that what we used to shoot that photograph. It wasn't a space test, satellite, or space explorers in a rocket. It was a rocket, a Nazi rocket. That rocket was the scandalous V-2, Vengeance Weapon 2. The Nazis built up the rocket during World War II, and terminated heaps of it at their essential adversary, the British. Notwithstanding, they actually had numerous unused rockets lying around at the time they were vanquished. The U.S. military shipped those rockets to the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, where a few specialists joined a camera to one of them to catch the primary photograph of room. The photograph was shot clearly and shows a piece of the Earth, for certain dashes of white mist against the dim space. 3. First full photograph of the Earth. Taking a full close-up photograph of the Earth from space is trying for two reasons. The first is that the picture taker should be far enough to catch the planet in full, yet close enough to catch every one of its subtleties. The picture taker additionally needs to choose the ideal time when the sun won't project shadows on the Earth. In the event that we inquired as to whether they knew the main full image of the Earth, they would have referenced the Blue Marble, which was shot by Apollo 17 space explorers heading out to the Moon in 1972. Any individual who considers the Blue Marble the main full photograph of the Earth isn't right. It is really the second. The initially was shot by NASA's ATS-3 Trial Climate and Interchanges satellite in November 1967. It's hazy why the 1967 Blue Marble, as it is currently called, isn't as well known as the one that came after it. It's presumably in light of the fact that its tones are somewhat more blunt. 2. First photograph of the Earth and Moon. On the 22nd of December 1966, the NASA Applications Technology Satellite 1, ATS-1, did what no human satellite or space test had ever done. It snapped a picture of the Earth and Moon together. In that photograph, we can see part of the Earth in the closer view with the full Moon out of sight. Numerous individuals, including space lovers, have never seen this photograph, and some even credit the Voyager 1 orbiter with taking the primary photograph of the Earth and Moon together. Explorer 1 took the main full photograph of the Earth and Moon and not the primary photograph of the Earth and Moon. 1. The last full photograph of the Earth. The 1967 and 1972 Blue Marbles we referenced in the past passage are only two of the many Blue Marbles out there. The most recent Blue Marble was shot in 2015 and it's known as the 2015 Blue Marble. The 2015 Blue Marble should have been shot before, yet was postponed in light of the fact that Republicans and Democrats couldn't locate a center ground. Inconvenience started in 1998 when Vice President Al Gore uncovered NASA was wanting to dispatch a satellite to take a full photograph of the Earth. Conservatives restricted the program and nicknamed the satellite GoreSat, a quip on Al Gore's name. The two players stayed indifferent until George W. Shrub became president in 2000. Bush's organization requested that NASA eliminate the cameras on the satellite, yet NASA clarified that the satellite and cameras would perform different errands, separated from taking photographs. NASA additionally explained that the decreased weight would influence the security of the satellite in space. Nonetheless, the Bush organization demanded and advised NASA to supplant the cameras with barricades. NASA retired the undertaking rather, since plainly the Bush organization was reluctant to subsidize it. Advancement possibly continued when Barack Obama became president in 2008. The satellite was dispatched a couple of years after the fact and it snapped the picture in 2015. Thank you for the watching. If you're interested in this video, hit the like button and subscribe my channel.